Welcome to the Create Today podcast. I'm your host, Karen Stanley, certified rapid transformational therapist and hypnotherapist. And my passion is helping women heal from the past and learn how to create the life they love one day at a time. My guest today is Alison Wright, a highly experienced financial consultant and money strategist who specializes in helping business owners maximize revenue and optimize cash flow. Who doesn't want that? Her approach to business finances is very different from your typical stuffy accountant. She empowers her clients with financial confidence and supports them as they make data-based decisions for the financial health of their business. Alison lives in Virginia Beach, Virginia, one of my favorite places, with her husband and her Shih Tzu, Millie Bell. So cute. Is Millie Bell going to be joining us today, Alison?
Oh, Millie Bell is asleep in her bed, unfortunately.
Oh, she must have such a rough life. And Alison loves to travel and tries to visit other countries at least once per year. Alison, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Karen.
It's my pleasure. I love to talk about business and help entrepreneurs and small business owners increase their profits and make good money decisions. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. And with your expertise, would love to talk about all of the things are the most common things that you see when you're helping, as you're helping on entrepreneurs. And then we're going to help entrepreneurs, make better decisions and help them grow their revenue and scale their business and grow most importantly, their profit. Because a lot of times we will have no problem growing the top line and have a little bit of a challenge growing the bottom line. I don't know. I mean, I've heard from other people that other business owners have. I'm just kidding. So first, I want to know, what is the most recent country you visited?
The most recent country was Mexico. Yeah, we were
Oh, that's right. What area? Cancun?
We went to Cozumel. It's for our anniversary. So we just took a little quick trip over there and it was beautiful.
It's so beautiful there. I was there, wow, almost 20 years ago now. Crazy. Time flies. It's so beautiful. And what's next on your list, your travel list?
Well, we actually are going to stay stateside for our next anniversary trip. Where our plan is to go back to Maui, where we had our honeymoon. So, and it's our 25th anniversary coming up in February. So, yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
February what?
27th.
Our anniversary is February 5th, and we got married in Maui.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay. That's so cool. Obviously, we had our children there. We got married on the sand, which is so special. And so that one wasn't really our honeymoon, but we finally went back for number 7, 8. I forgot. And no, it wasn't this year. So it was 7. We went back and had a real live honeymoon with just the two of us. And it was so magical. My favorite places in the world.
I know. Me too. Me too. It's been forever since we've been back. So it's like, okay, 25 seems like a good time to go. So
absolutely. So I'd love to know exactly how you got into this business and how did you end up where you are now, working directly with entrepreneurs as an entrepreneur with your own business. I'd love to just hear I'd love to hear everybody's backstory. How did you get into this? How did you get started?
It's kind of a wild ride. So yeah, keep me on task.
I'm terrible at that.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll just go on trails if we need to. But yeah, so I started out I have a degree in business. I did, worked for several firms, banks. I ran the trading wire for a company for a while, actually ran the trading wire before everything was electronic. So I've worked in investments and accounting, government accounting, and I just got honestly tired of working for the government and decided to take my skill set and thought, well, I helped my husband. My husband's also an entrepreneur. He's a contractor, and I was helping him with his bookkeeping, kind of giving him some insight on what, maybe he could do a little better. And, that's always fun in a marriage, right? But what can you do a little better with your finances that are also mine? It was great. And it was a great learning process for me. And yeah, so I used that skill set, as well as the accounting from the government side skill set, and started working with small businesses locally. And then COVID happened, and yeah, I went out on my own and stopped working for my main big client and started taking on several smaller clients. And I found it was super interesting. They didn't really just want a bookkeeper. They wanted someone to come alongside them to look at their reporting, to give them advice on, okay, I've cut all of these expenses. I'm pretty lean. I can't really cut much more here. How do I add money? How do I add revenue? And so I loved that question. So we got to like brainstorm together and research and figure out, okay, based on these offerings, if we do X, Y, and Z, we can add another, 10K to your month. Let's do it. So it's kind of grown. It feels like it's been very slow and fast at the same time. Um, I was doing, I know I'm all over the place, so forgive me, but I was doing CFO work without really realizing I was doing it and calling it bookkeeping and giving these CEOs, high end advice on what to do with their companies. And they took my advice and they grew their companies. And so anyway, that's how I got to the CFO space.
That's
Now,
so exciting.
yeah, yeah. Now I do that, but I still, offer the bookkeeping services as well, because not all businesses are ready for a part-time CFO. So here we
Correct.
are.
Yeah. And I wanted you to just explain to our listeners the fractional CFO, just in case someone's wondering exactly what that means. I'd love for you to explain that.
Yeah, so the C-suite, as you know, for a larger corporation, you've got your chief marketing officer, your chief financial officer, your chief executive officer. Well, there's this lovely way to hire someone at that level, but not have to pay them a full-time CFO salary, and that's called a fractional CFO, which basically is a fancy way of saying part-time. So,
It
so
is.
you
It sounds
hire.
way fancier.
Yes, it's so fancy. When I say fractional, everyone's like, "Ooh, what is that?" And it's like, it's not that fancy, but it's fun to say. So yeah, my clients love saying, "We have a fractional CFO." I'm like, "Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I love that." So yeah, it's just basically a part-time C-suite contractor or employee, depending. So yeah.
I love it. It's so great. And I love that you offer whatever an entrepreneur needs. All small businesses are not exactly the same. We're all at a different timeline. We all have different cash flow and different number of staff and all of the things they're all variables that we can utilize your expertise and your skills in whatever it is that we need at the time, at the size of our business is now, and you can help us get to the next level. It's really, really cool.
Right. I love it. It's so
Um,
fun.
it's so fun. And isn't it so fun to work with people that just love what they're doing and are so passionate about business and helping businesses and helping anything, helping us create the best life for ourselves and for all of our people around us.
Yeah, it's the best thing. It's so rewarding to help those who are helping others, because it's like the impact is, I keep seeing people grow, and it's just amazing. It's so rewarding. And I just really love what I do. So
Yeah, I can tell. It shows, which is amazing.
yeah.
I don't know why I'm even talking about this, but I saw someone sent me a reel, and it was someone going on a rant about the economy and yada, yada. And part of it was, and corporations are lying about their expenses going up. And I'm like,
Mm,
wait a second. If every single thing costs more than it did 3 years ago, that includes every single thing that we need to do business,
right.
to make products, to hire people, to pay our people. Our insurance is higher. Everything is higher. And so this whole notion that business or people in business or capitalism in general, sometimes some people feel like it's some evil word or some,
I know.
I don't, which which I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to be open-minded, and I can see where some of that comes from. But what you just said is you're helping people help people. And from my perspective, and every business owner that I know is in the business of people. We are hiring people, we are giving jobs, we are feeding families, we are helping people with the business that we have. It is a solution for some things. And I
Right.
just wonder if some people, they don't see it that way, and they perhaps just don't really know very many entrepreneurs.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think coming from an 8 to 5 job background and talking to coworkers, old coworkers, they just don't understand. And they're like, oh, you have your own business. Well, oh, okay. So you must be able to do X, Y, and Z, or you must, that must be easy for you. Or they just don't have that mindset. And
Mhm.
that's okay. I mean, we need people to work 8 to 5 jobs. If all of us were entrepreneurs and, working our own, crazy schedules, the world would not work very well, I don't think. But I think it's a lack of understanding. Like, well, we're lying about our expenses. No, it actually really does cost. My insurance just went up. My liability insurance just went up. There are things that we have to invest in for our businesses that things break. So, I had to buy a new monitor recently. I mean, just little things that if you're working a job, you're not going to understand because you just call, tech support and say, hey, my monitor's broken. Can you replace it? So it's just, yeah, lack of understanding, I think.
Yeah. Just, and then lack of awareness, or just that circle of influence around everybody is different. Everybody has different circles of influences. And so
Hey,
you can have all kinds of ideas about business and or business owners. And just as an example, I used to think that I wanted my own business so that I could have a yacht and a jet.
I love it.
I don't want either of those things anymore. But I thought that's kind of uh, a theory. What's the word? It's kind of I want to say conspiracy theory, which is hilarious, but it is a perception. That's the word that I was looking for.
Yeah.
If you own your own business, you're a billionaire immediately.
Right, right. And
Doesn't-
my favorite assumption, if you will, is because I own my own business, I'm available at any time of the day for anything. Like, can you help me move? Can you? It's like, no, yes, I have control on my schedule, but I'm very disciplined with my schedule. And so, no, I just because you own your own business doesn't mean that you're just totally free all the time. So that was an interesting assumption that I've had people come to me with quite a bit, moving or meeting up, last minute, which I love to do, but it's like, no, we have a business to run. We're not just playing, house. So
Well, you said it perfectly. We do have control over our own schedule,
yes,
and it's not empty.
right. It's very full. So,
Very full.
yes.
And so, yes, great. So let's get into it. I would love to know what are the top mistakes you see, not mistakes, top things that people could improve upon. When
Mhm.
you first work with companies and you're maybe in the very beginning stages of just going through all of their data, just all of their records, what are some of the things that most entrepreneurs make, or what are the biggest points of opportunity? I guess let's put it that way.
So I would say one of the big ones is that they're investing in the wrong things. It's
Mm,
not that they're spending too much money, it's that they're spending too much money on the wrong things.
mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, give us a couple examples.
So, for example, if you are, and I posted about this recently, we all love our retreats and our conferences and our networking events, and that's great. A lot of those types of events are very expensive. And so I am a big believer in, I love research. I'm a research nerd. And so if I'm going to go to a conference, a retreat, anything business related where I'm going to get leads, I'm going to get business because it's a business expense, right? You want to be able to write it off. I'm going to research who's going to be there. Are these people my ideal clients? Do I even want to work with these people? Is it worth my time to step away from my office to go to California or wherever to spend time in these meetings with these people? I highly recommend that people research, who are these speakers? Are they people I want to work with? What are the types of people that go to these events? So I find that when people don't do that, they end up sometimes unfortunately, at conferences that they have no business being at. And so maybe they are already, what's a good way to put it? They're in a different room. They have graduated, if you will. They the things that the people that are attending this conference are about, they're not about anymore. They have moved on to this next level of success, and they're looking to learn and to grow in this new way. Meanwhile, they're at this conference where they've kind of already done that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's a really great way to look at it and analyze every investment. And I love just looking at it. No, it's not just, oh, it's a business expense. Because I used to always think that too. No, it's a business expense. Don't worry about it. But we're going to put it on the business. I would tell John that a lot. And then when I
Yeah.
really look at it, I didn't ever ask myself those questions about who would be there and would they be ideal clients and is it the right room to be in? Is this a really good investment? Because at the end of the day, it's still all of your money.
Right.
Whether it's on the business Amex or the personal Amex, it's still the same. You own the business.
Right. Right.
So
And
I
it's
love that. It's a great way to think of things. What's another common mistake or opportunity to grow your business?
this kind of piggybacks on the investing in the wrong things. I
Mm,
said it earlier, you're in the wrong room.
mm,
So meaning you've joined a mastermind, you've joined a online community, you've joined an in-person networking community. But again, you haven't done the research, the necessary research to see, am I actually going to get something out of this community that I'm paying to be a part of?
mm,
Or am I just there to help? If you're there to help, that's great, but just know that you're not pushing yourself forward. I think that the good balance to have is you're growing, but you're also helping in the groups that you're in. But they're not
mm.
putting you to work. There's a difference. Does that make sense?
Yes. Interesting. So, do you find that a lot of business owners are in multiple types of networking or do you see that a lot? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I find that the most successful entrepreneurs that I work with don't stay in this is how do I say this? They don't stay in the same group forever. It's very rare unless you find a group like I know that we're part of that is awesome. But it's very rare that you find a group that you stay in forever. And the reason being is that leads dry up. You have reached just say you're in a coaching community and you've reached the level of the coach has given you everything that they have to give. And it's been amazing, but now you're on to the next thing. And so, yeah, I see a lot of entrepreneurs that, and I hate using this word, but they group hop. And the
Mm,
reason for that is because they're growing and they need to keep growing. Need to keep the momentum going. And once they stop growing in a group, it's time to, well, my coach would say it's time to start looking for a group before you've stopped growing in the current group that you're in. So
mm. That's really excellent advice. How would you determine whether or not it's time to move on and find another group?
I
What
think
data are you looking at?
I think it's a little different for everyone. I'm not a really big fan of paying to play in a group just for friendship. So I feel like I need to be getting something out of the group, whether that's personal development, whether that's networking, where I can ask, who in the group is a lawyer that I can reach out to, and for contract help or that kind of thing. if it just becomes kind of the same regurgitated information, then I feel like, and I've been in groups like this, it's good information until you've got it. And it's like, okay, it's time to move on. I don't know if I answered your question or not. It's a hard one because it's so different for everyone. Everyone's, their journey is their journey. So it's gonna look different for everybody.
Right. And it's not linear. And some person, might stay in a group for a year and go, sweet, I learned everything I had, and I'm ready for level 2 or whatever it is. And some
Right.
person might love that one group for 5 years. So it's great that you said that.
Yeah.
Everybody's journey is different, and really leaning into your intuition about all of those questions. Those are great questions to ask ourselves until we just jump for jumping reasons.
Right.
So that's a really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then as far as the data, are you able to analyze through our QuickBooks, like our actual expenses, and you're looking at our P&Ls? What data are you looking for when you first look at somebody's books? What are
Mhm.
you looking for first?
Well, I'm looking to see where the money doesn't lie. And so I look to see where are they spending the most money. That's what they're caring about. And which is great. That money kind of gives a story. Like,
Mhm.
what they really love conferences. They're spending a lot of money on conferences. Cool. Okay. Then I start asking questions. How many leads did you get from that conference? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, let's go back and look and see, did you get any business from this particular conference? And then it gets the wheels turning and they're like, oh, okay. Oh, I need to be measuring these things. Yeah, it's important because you can love going to conferences, but ultimately you're wasting your time if you're not getting something out of it, whether that be personal development, whether that be a training certificate, whether that be leads. What are we measuring? Why are we going to this conference? And are we getting out of it what we thought we were going to be getting out of it? So
Smart. So really, it's almost sometimes you are the flashlight highlighting things and helping business owners learn to start tracking.
absolutely.
So you
Yeah.
find that most of us don't track as well as we need to make decisions?
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean the CEOs they don't have time. A lot of
Right.
times they just go and they go on to the next thing and they go
Right.
back to work and it's just, having those meetings with your fractional CFO or your bookkeeper or whoever it is, having those meetings just to check in and see how's it going? How was that conference? How many people did you have a contact with or set up a meeting with afterwards? Like just simple questions like that to kind of keep them on track. And from there, you can make good decisions based on that and go, okay, maybe that conference would be worth going to again. Or maybe I need to ask to be a speaker at that conference because I have already kind of surpassed what they're after, but I have something to give. So let me see about putting my name in the hat for a speaker. I don't know. It's
Excellent.
lots of ways you can measure. So,
Well, I love this. I've been talking about this for a long time in my career of marketing for almost 30 years now. Before I became a therapist, I would always have opinions, and then my clients also have opinions. And I would always say, well, let's not just make decisions on opinions. Let's make decisions on the data and whether they want to change an image or a specific button on their website. I just got off a meeting about our website and was just, well, I think we should get rid of this CTA, click through action button, and we should have move this one to the top. I'm like, based on what? I'm not interested in your opinion. It's great that you build websites or you work for a website company. I'm not saying anything negative about you personally, but your opinions don't matter. You work for a company that has every single data point we could imagine
right.
about 30,000 people that go to our website every month. And so I think it's really important. It's something that we might not do as much, like you said, we don't have time to do every single thing. And a lot of us small business owners, especially when we first start out, we are doing all of it. We are the marketing director, we are the CEO and the CFO and the
Everything.
bookkeeper and the accountant and the hiring, and we're the HR department too. That's usually the only way we all start out that
Right,
way.
right.
And so, and the other thing I think is so valuable is sometimes just having a completely neutral third party look at it.
Mhm.
I think it's really helpful. Like, you're in the weeds all the time, or even if you're not, some of us are just ignoring QuickBooks, and then we're do it all at the end of the year. I heard some people do that. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah,
I'm the
yeah.
worst. I'm the worst. So I wait till the end of the year and do it all and go, wow, okay. And that's terrible. Well, that I'm not gathering data as I go along.
Right.
And so what you're saying is so much smarter. And so what are some of the benefits and or revenue generator or revenue growth opportunities that you find more often than not in small businesses that you work with?
So revenue generators, I staying with the conference theme,
Yeah.
one of my clients, we actually measured, we looked at the different types of events they were going to, and we actually measured where were they getting the most leads and where were they getting the most business. And then January of this year, they decided to go all in on this one event and signed more business in that first month of the year than they did all of last year.
Wow.
That's a revenue generator. So
Right.
data is powerful if you use it. I mean, if you look at it and you measure it and you go, okay, sometimes, what do they say if you're a novelist? Kill your darlings. You basically it's a saying like if you're a writer and you write a character you really love, but sometimes you have to kill them off. It's the same kind of thing with conferences. You might really love going to that tropical location, but is it bringing you business? No, you might have to kill it off. So,
Kill your darlings
yep.
sometimes. Sorry,
Mhm.
darling, you're gonna have to kill some
Sorry.
darlings.
You're
That
out.
makes sense. And instead of just being all willy-nilly lack, and as they say in the South, just just looking at the data, just getting the information, and so you can make data driven decisions is
Absolutely.
so powerful. And you're helping your clients get the data. What is the most important data to look at? What are some other things that you're searching for?
So, um, one of the things that I see, one of the biggest issues is hiring poorly. And so the data I look at is if a company has a lot of contractors and a lot of employees,
Mm,
I start to ask questions like, well, what are their responsibilities? What are their roles? What are they, where is their overlap? How many hours a week are these people working? And so we look at that. I would say 9 times out of 10, I can whittle down, and not that I want to take away jobs from people, but also if you're bleeding payroll, it's not a good look for your business. So we find experts instead of all of these little, you've got a VA, you've got an OBM, you've got XYZ. You hire experts who end up working less hours and end up saving you money because they
mm,
actually know what they're doing. It's it's
mm,
it's interesting when you start to really dive into what are your employees doing? What are their
mm,
tasks? How long is it taking them to do it? Are they doing it well? And again, it's very individual for each company, what that looks like. But that's a big one. That's a big one for entrepreneurs right now because I don't know where we get this idea that we just need to hire all the people and delegate everything. But
mm,
you go from like CEO doing everything yourself. And then you get to a point where you're like, I'm just going to hire and I'm not going to do any of that anymore. I'm only going to do this one thing. Well,
mm,
yes, but let's hire experts. Let's not hire unicorns. I don't know if you've heard that term used. I hired a unicorn. She can do everything. And that's a red flag for me. Like, okay, let's look at that. Let's look at the roles. Let's look at what she's actually doing for you and how well it's being done. Is she actually supporting you? So yeah,
Excellent.
again, I'm the CEO's BFF. I don't work for the employees. I work for the CEO. And so it sounds a little scary sometimes. I don't want the CEOs to be scared of me, but I am out for their best interest and their company's best interest. And sometimes having all those employees is not in their best interest. So I'm not afraid to say no.
Yeah. But everybody needs that. Everybody needs an honest evaluation, an honest BFF. We all need honesty and real feedback that will help us.
Right.
It's so great. I don't think anybody's afraid of it. Well, maybe some people are. It's okay. I think most entrepreneurs really just want to improve in every area of their life. And so money is just an area. It's just it's an area, and the money is a tool. And we all would love to know some of the things and learn some of the things that will help us grow our businesses and scale. Do you find that most businesses, is that the number one expense is payroll?
It's either payroll or it's depending on the type of business, or it's professional development, coaching, conferences, that kind of thing. Yeah, those two are the biggest.
That's
that I'm
some
finding.
businesses' number one expense is these conferences and coaches. Wow.
It is. It is,
Wow.
and, and some of them are seeing a return on their investment. It's great, and some of them don't realize that they're not seeing a return on their investment until I, like you said, shine the flashlight, say, okay, let's look at this. What is this? What is this? What is this doing for you? Other than making you feel good in a tropical location. So,
Yeah. Who doesn't?
I mean, right? It's great, but I'm here to help you build your business and scale. And I always, numbers don't lie, and I'm going to tell you the truth. So
Yeah, it's really great. What are some of the other traps, for lack of a better word, that a lot of entrepreneurs fall into or don't realize that's happening, that you have also shown the light on?
so I see when CEOs grow very quickly and they hire,
Mhm.
they we're just going to assume they didn't hire experts. So they're having to micromanage all of these people that they've hired. So they've added
Mhm.
another job for themselves. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And so when they thought hiring these people was going to help lessen their workload, they actually added more of a workload to, because they're having to micromanage all these people. Well, they don't have to, but that's because they didn't hire well, it's what's happening. So,
Mm.
and then they miss paying bills. They miss sending invoices out. I mean, that's how you get paid. You have to send an invoice.
Yes, you
These
do.
things happen. These things happen to 8 and 9 figure business owners that
Mhm.
don't hire well and aren't good at delegating that task. They want to push the button. I understand it. I'm money is close to my heart, but sometimes you have to hire an expert to push that button to make sure that invoice gets sent.
Mm. So you're saying you see that quite frequently, that an entrepreneur has hired somebody to do the things, saying as in send invoices, and it's not being sent, or it's because they didn't delegate that task?
It's not being sent because either they're waiting on the owner to approve,
Oh,
or it's not being sent because it's falling through the cracks because they didn't hire well.
oh my gosh.
And
I
I
know
know I
sometimes I've been guilty of that. I am the stopgap, and somebody's waiting for me to do their job, for me to approve it, or to say okay, or read the email, whatever it is.
right.
I trying to work on not being the stopgap. Um,
Yep.
and what are most of the time the solutions to that? What is usually the solution?
So the solution to that, and this is where I love coming in and helping the CEO and even the team, it's coming up with a simple system. Simple, not complicated, simple, so that everyone knows what everyone's job is. Everyone knows who, if it's a very high bill, just for example, there's a bill that needs to be paid and it's over a certain amount of money. Just say it's $10,000. Okay, well, Karen needs to approve that before it goes out.
Right.
But those things are written down, systems, processes. So the CFO world crosses over into the COO world, the operations manager as well. So it's creating processes that everyone is clear on, they're simple, and that if it's missed, it's very easy to say, hey, remember that process we came up with? Let's do that. And
Wow.
I love helping companies. And again, all of my companies are so different. And so all of these processes are very bespoke.
Mm.
So it's very bespoke but simple. I don't know if that makes sense. It's very company centric, but we keep it as simple as possible so that it can be implemented across the board and replicated. So
Yeah. It's interesting because I think some of us think something is simple and we have a system in place and we may not even realize that it's A, not simple at all. And B, we might not realize there is a problem and that it could be solved with something very simple
yeah.
that, like you're saying. And what's an example? Like, what's an example of a super easy system that you've implemented? I'm just
I mean,
curious.
I think just having an invoice payment process. So if you've hired someone to send invoices for you, when you perform a service, yeah, just say you enter in, this is the amount of hours if you're billing hourly, and then send that on to the person that's going to make sure that gets invoiced by a certain date. And then they send it out, and then after the due date, if it's not paid, they know to follow up within, however many days. You have a very specific, it's written down.
Mm.
It's I like to do video walkthroughs as well, so that people, all different learners can really grasp the concept and have something to refer to while they're doing the process. So I don't know if that's a simple example, but
Yeah.
that's one I see a lot. Who's in charge of sending and who's in charge of following up and making sure you get paid. And yeah.
Mm. Brilliant. That is a good example. It's not exactly what the specific system is. It may be the system is fine, and it may be that people don't not actually understand exactly who, when, why, what. And so you just spell it out for them, and it's just understanding it, then people can follow it.
Right. And I think a
Excuse
lot of
me.
us we get used to our way of doing things, not realizing that maybe we're making it more complicated on ourselves. And so
Mm.
we're checking this email box and we're checking this email box. Meanwhile, all the invoices should be coming to this email box, but we're checking 3 different ones and our employees are checking 3 different ones. So it's chaos. It's organized chaos, if you will. But once you have a system in place and everybody knows the invoice goes to this mailbox, this is the only one we're checking. Okay, that makes it a little simpler. Just
Mm.
one little thing like that can really change whether or not you get your invoices paid on time.
Yes, love it. I have a very old, very large outstanding invoice myself because I did not have systems in place and I did not follow through and I did not catch that it wasn't paid until a couple months later. So that's not a fun position to be in. I don't like being in this position. I don't like re-emailing people. I don't, and this specific example that they are not responding. So now I'm going to have to get a lawyer involved. And I don't like that. I don't like any of that. It's very uncomfortable. I really don't want to do it. And it could have been solved if I would have found it a few months ago if I would have if I had that system in place.
right?
So it makes perfect sense.
And that's what I work on with all of my new clients when I onboard is let's look at your systems. Let's do a systems audit and see, okay, if needed, what can we do better? I have clients that have accounts receivable, over six figures because they grew so quickly and they didn't have the systems in place to collect. And so
Mm,
here we are. And so
mm.
having to come into that kind of a situation is tough, solvable, but it's tough. So it's good to, if you can, document your systems early on and continue to systems always evolve. To be more efficient, more lean, whatever the case may be. But have some sort of documentation so you make it easier on yourself down the road. If anything like this pops up, you have a way to deal with it. So
Yeah, I want to emphasize what you said is everything is solvable and some systems evolve. So some of us might think, well, 5 years ago we set up the system. Yeah, I've got a system for that. And really just being aware, is that system working out or is there a way that we can improve it? I think
right,
that's really helpful, I think, for all of us. Just look at the ones you have. How is it
yeah,
working?
start there
Yeah.
and yeah, again, data. Start with the data you have and measure it and see, is this actually working for us or can we do better? Can we make this easier on ourselves? And when you
Yeah.
can, it's so rewarding. Like it's just so rewarding.
It's great. Well, this is awesome. I have like 20 other questions, but we won't have time for all of them. We'll have to have you back. But before we wrap up, I would love for you to, if there are any last thoughts or other, any other things that we as business owners could look at and opportunities for growth and that really helps your clients grow and scale and increase their bottom line.
Yeah, I think just not being afraid to
Mm,
look at those numbers. I think a lot of CEOs will kind of let that hang out in our minds, but not actually take action on it. And then it
mm,
gets bigger and it gets bigger because we haven't looked at it. Hire a CFO, a bookkeeper, someone that you trust that is going to be on your side. That I mean, I joke with my clients, they say, is this a wine conversation or is this a coffee conversation? So, like, I'm here to support. So hire someone that you trust and is going to support you to help you look at those numbers on a regular basis because a CEO that knows their numbers is powerful, so powerful because you
mm,
know exactly what you need to do to grow. You know exactly how much money you have to invest in this thing you want to invest in. It's amazing what happens when you actually take the time, as small as it doesn't have to take a long time. When you take the time to look at your numbers and know what they are, peace of mind and database decisions that are amazing for your business. So
mm. That's great. How often do you encourage owners to look at the numbers?
I I mean, some of my CEOs look every week. Good for them. That's awesome. Some, I would say, at least once a month. At least. Any if you let it go any longer than that, fraud, there's all kinds of things that can happen in a month. Unfortunately, people have employees that steal from them. I've seen it all. It's just a wild world out there. So yeah, I would say at least once a month. If you can look at it weekly, great. I think that's a well-informed CEO if you're looking
Mm.
at your numbers weekly.
Well, this has been so helpful and such excellent advice. Thank you so much. Would you please tell our listeners where we can find you?
Yeah, so my website is Alison B. Wright. It's Allison with one L. I know my mom, she she decided to make me different. So Allison with one L. And Wright like the Wright brothers, and apparently we're related by marriage. So
Cool.
yeah, I
Cool.
thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, AlisonBWright.com. And yeah, there's a contact form there if you want to chat. I always love helping new businesses out. Yeah.
Well, and there's a really great resource that you just put on your website. Tell them a little bit about that.
Okay, so I wrote an ebook and it is called Mistake to Mastery: 3 reasons why you're not scaling your business. And it basically is some story. It's all story based. Don't worry, I have protected all of the all of the folks that I mentioned.
All of your victims.
Names have been changed, all of that, some of the details, nobody's going to be identifiable. But yeah, it's problems, issues that a lot of CEOs deal with. And so it's story form, and then I give what I call my CFO fix. And it's what I did to help them fix the problem, what we did together. That's the better way to put it, because they were part of the solution as well. It's not just me. But it's yeah, several stories on that I'm sure are very relatable to some of your listeners, because it happens to all of us. That's the thing. There's no shame involved in this, and I want to make that very clear. I'm not a shame-based person. I don't like that persona of a financial professional, like a kind of a, you're going to the principal's office if you're talking to your, your CPA or whatever. That's not me at all. I'm all about full transparency, and then, okay, there's this problem, let's fix it. There's always a solution. And so that's why I wrote the ebook, is because I feel like a lot of CEOs don't feel seen, and they feel like they're the only ones that are dealing with these problems, and they're not. So,
Well, I
yeah.
find it very helpful. I read the whole thing, and I
Oh,
love
yay.
the story form of it, because you're right. It's every single one of them is relatable, at least at one point in everybody's entrepreneur journey. And it was for me. And it was very helpful and made me think about, oh, well, how could I, some of the things that maybe booby traps that I have set for myself. And I just love that your whole mantra is that everything has a solution. Everything has a solution. I always say that. It was Maria Forleo who says everything is figure outable.
Oh, yes,
What's her
yes.
name?
Love
Maria.
that.
Yeah, I love that. She said
Yeah.
her mom used to say that her whole life, and then she wrote a book that was called that. And I didn't read the book. I have it. I just haven't read it yet, because I have thousands of books I haven't read yet. But I say that all the time. Everything is figure outable. And you're saying it. You've said it so many times, and that's such a great thing to remember.
Yeah.
Everything has a solution.
It does. It does. And I think, just a little aside, part of that comes from, for your listeners, that I have a limb difference. And so from birth, I've had to figure out how to do things that in a way that works for me. And so I feel like I've taken that attitude into my work, and every business is different. So you got to figure out what works for you. And so here we are.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with my listeners. Thank you for your time and your energy. And yeah, I really appreciate you.
Oh, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, it's a good time.
So great. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and listening to my show. If you got any value at all, it would mean the world if you shared it and left a review. Remember, the only way to create the life you love is to take it one day at a time. Create today. God bless you.